All right. Well, I know we're on a tight schedule, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if more people roll on in, that's great. So I hope everyone is enjoying the start of the summit. I'm sure you've heard a lot of great information already. But for this session, we're going to be talking about Be Well at TU and really talking about how investing in yourself, your self-care, your well-being is going to help you succeed in so many different ways of life. And my hope is that this is a really interactive session. Please take advantage of the chat. Feel free to throw out questions. I really just want all of us to learn from each other because we're kind of all in it together. So firstly, my name is Erica Luction. I am the Assistant Director of Health Promotion. My pronouns are she, her. And in terms of my background, I am a registered dietitian nutritionist and a board certified health and wellness coach. And I share this because I've spent over a decade investing and helping people invest in their health and well-being. And I have seen so many people do amazing things with even just small intentional behavior change. And I also wanted to share a bit about how I personally invest in my well-being. So I work full-time here at Towson University. I have 2 little children at home, and it's a lot sometimes. And so things that I do to just help myself thrive is I take about 20 minutes each day during my lunch break to just go on a walk around campus. I find music to be so comforting, relaxing, cathartic. So I just listen to music whenever I can, if that's on my drive to and from work, if that's doing chores that I don't necessarily want to do. And when I feel stressed out, I like to have a dance party by myself. I just blast my music in my headphones and I jump around, and I find that that can be really helpful. And then lastly, I know that I'm someone that does really well with good quality sleep, and I do not well when I don't get sleep. So I definitely prioritize getting about 8 hours of sleep almost every night when I can, just so I can get through my day in the best way possible. So my hope and my goals is that everyone at the end of this presentation is going to have had the opportunity to reflect on 2 ways that they're already investing in their well-being. Be able to identify resources on campus that support well-being, and that could be for yourself or your peers. And then get some concrete tips on how to plan one well-being action for your student group or organization. So I want to start off with a show of hands. How many people feel like they are juggling many priorities during the day or the week already? Yeah, that's what I was expecting to see. So I can only imagine, as being a part of a student group or organization, besides academic rigor, being a part of this group, keeping up with your social life, having a job, and everything in between, I'm sure you are doing the juggling act. And you have a lot of priorities that you're trying to manage on a daily basis. And so I am curious to hear, how do you do it? What are some of the things that help you do it and manage everything? If you want to add in the chat box, I find that we can all kind of learn from each other. Perfect. So setting reminders just to help remember all your tasks, using a planner. All right. And I'm sure if you want to just take the time to reflect on these things and don't want to share it, that's okay too. Yeah, just remembering to take one thing at a time, because it can get really overwhelming to go and think about everything all at once. Okay, so on the flip side, we know that sometimes when we're juggling a lot and have a lot of things on our plate, it can be overwhelming. And so I want to get a sense of how many people have experienced really stressful moments or feeling really overwhelmed or even a little burnt out. Yeah, seeing lots of hands raised, and I will raise my hand too. I have definitely felt stressed and burnt out. It is such a common part of life, right? Life is stressful. We can have really small stressors that keep building, even simple things like sometimes getting to school late and trying to find a parking spot, to really big stressors like financial issues and managing all the things that we have on a to-do list every single day, all year round. And so I want to hear from you. What are some of the things that you do when you're feeling really stressed and overwhelmed? What are things that help you cope? And again, you can add that into the chat box. Dancing, I love that. Croquet. Oh, crochet. Reading, physical activity, awesome. Singing, going to the gym. All right, these are all fantastic. And we know that when we think of coping mechanisms, a lot of the ones that we already listed, some are going to be great, right? They are in line with what we're trying to achieve, and they really help support our success. So things like everyone mentioned, like moving your body, if that's dancing or going to the gym, doing something that's enjoyable and calming, like reading. It could be just taking a moment to breathe, trying to manage all the things we have to do so that we feel like we have a plan in place. Sometimes even just connecting with someone, like calling a friend and venting, or going out and meeting for someone and just getting a break. Spending time in nature can be really relaxing, or connecting with a therapist. And we also know there are other coping mechanisms that might not be as helpful, right? They might are more like a distraction, but then over time it has a negative impact. So that could be like going out to a party and drinking way too much alcohol the weekend, or leaning into cannabis or drugs, or doing things that feel like they're exciting, like gambling or excessive spending. And in the moment, that might help distract us, but then we're left with more stressors down the road. And for some people, they might find their eating habits change. Maybe they're overeating because food can be a really great pleasure and a distraction, or they're undereating to just, they're so, nervous or anxious, and it impacts their food choices. And so the thing about coping is that coping is actually more of a reaction, right? When we got to a point where our stress is so high or we can't deal something, we have to do something. And so I want to take a shift and say, we don't always want to be coping with our stress. We want to be thinking about what are the things that we can do that we could be proactive to help avoid, hopefully, getting to a point where our stress becomes distress, or that we're feeling burnt out, that we no longer care and we don't want to do anything. And so one of the things that helps us do that is practicing self-care. So I know that we already shared some of the things we do to cope, but when you think about your self-care, and these are daily practices or consistent practices that we do to take care of ourselves, what are the things that come to mind for you? Listening to music, right there with you. I love that. Sometimes you just need a real recharge, just a day off, and just be able to really reset and relax. So we have reading again. I love that. And so you can just keep thinking about these actions for self-care. And we're also going to talk about, maybe we don't know what self-care is and we're not sure what to do. So I'm going to give you some suggestions of what that can look like as well. So practicing self-care, like I mentioned, isn't something that we just do every so often, right? So it's not like every so often I'm going to meet up with my friends and play basketball, or every so often I go on a walk. It's really trying intentionally to do activities on a regular basis for the purpose of investing in your mental and physical well-being. And there's lots of different activities that we can do. So some of them are just focusing on the basics. So like I mentioned earlier, like I just want to make sure that I'm getting enough sleep almost every day if I can. I'm going to move my body throughout the day. So walking around campus, if that's going to the gym consistently, if that's having dance parties, and I'm going to eat food that nourishes and energizes me. And these are things that you might be doing day in and day out. And I like to think of them as the basics because they set the stage for healthy living. And I almost imagine it like armor that you wear throughout your world as you kind of are dealing with stress. So I want you to think about a day where maybe you were like running on 4 hours of sleep and you've been sitting and studying and in class all day. And maybe because you don't have so much time, just grabbing like easy fast food and snacks, and you're just feeling overwhelmed. And then something happens that stresses you out. Like maybe something as simple as you were carrying your food and it fell on the floor. And that act kind of just like breaks you. And it's just like the last thing that you just don't feel like you can handle. And you're just so upset. And then another stressor happens and it feels almost impossible to overcome from these versus days and weeks where you're getting good quality sleep, you're waking up energized, you're moving your body, you're eating healthy food, and the same stressor happens and you drop that food, you might even laugh, or you might just be like, oh, I'm such a klutz, or I can't believe that happened. And then you just pick it up and you move on with your day. And those small stressors just don't seem to impact you the same way they do when you're running a little bit on empty. Other forms of self-care are really just about investing in social support. So recognizing that when I connect with my friends, my family, my peers, that fills up my cup. And I want to make sure that I am devoting time and energy to those social connections. And not only are those great because hanging out with friends can be fun, but then during times of hardships, we have people that we can share things that are hard with, and they want to support us because we have invested in a mutual relationship. It's also really important just to have fun and play. And so making sure that we don't get too in the weeds about all the stuff we have to do. I have to go to class. I have to go to this meeting. I have to attend this event. And what are things that we want to do because we want to do them? I want to go and play a game. I want to go to a concert. I want to just laugh and be silly for a little bit. Other actions that can fill up our cup that we don't always think about are activities that give us meaning and purpose. And these are actions that connect to our true values. So that could be like spending time giving back to the community or volunteering, or connecting to your place of worship that really brings you back and holds a lot of memory and meaning for you. And then lastly, our flow activities. So I'm not sure if you ever heard about flow activities. Another way to think about are activities when you're like kind of in the zone. These are activities if you ever think about doing something and then time kind of ceases to exist. You just kind of get so into it that you pop out and you're like, oh my gosh, that was 2 hours of my life. For a lot of people, those are like creative areas. Maybe if you get really into painting or doing an art project. For other people, that could be like lifting weights or getting into a sports game. For some people, that could look more like baking or cooking. But engaging in things that kind of get you into that flow can have a really positive impact on your overall health and well-being. And one of the ways that we can think about self-care is recognizing when we consistently take time to invest in self-care. So doing these activities that we mentioned earlier, the result is that it's going to ultimately protect what we call our well-being. And so I'm curious how many of you have heard the word well-being? We have a whole subdivision now called student health and well-being. I'm curious, when you hear well-being, like what does that word mean to you? What do you think we're saying when we use the word well-being? Any thoughts? We could put it in the chat. Overall health. Okay, so we have agreements, yeah. Different perspectives of our health. I like that one. And I agree. I mean, well-being is a hard word to define. We all met as a group, and a lot of us are in these career paths, and we were trying to really work hard of thinking about what well-being was. And it took us a long time to get to a definition. And so one of the things that I like to explain to people is that well-being isn't really an action. It's almost, we call it like a state of being. And one of the things that helps us understand well-being is getting that there's dimensions of well-being. So I like someone wrote components of our health or different perspectives. And exactly that, right? Our well-being is made up of a lot of different areas of focus, and all of them are important. And when we invest in each of these, the outcome is that we're in a place where we feel like we can thrive. We have all the pieces of our puzzle that's going to help us reach our potential, help us to go where we want to be. And so it's important to think about these different areas as we think about how we want to succeed in all areas of our life. So even if right now, we're focusing so strongly in academia, like in our intellectual well-being, because we're in college, if all we do is invest in our intellectual well-being and our occupational well-being, and we aren't taking enough time to nurture these other areas, it actually in the long run has a negative impact on our overall health and our quality of life. And so we want to be thinking about, are we balancing all these areas in a way that feels right and authentic to the individual, so that the end result is that we're feeling our best, or is best, or thriving in a way that feels right for us. So things that we can do to invest in our well-being. So first and foremost is actually just acknowledging the importance of taking care of oneself, right? If we don't even think that it's important to stop and invest in these areas and these components of our well-being, then we're probably not going to do it, right? So the first step in any form of behavior change is awareness. Next, it's really important for us to understand that well-being is a unique journey that only you can really be on, right? So you might look at your roommate, your friends, your peers, your siblings, other family members, and think, ooh, they look like they really got it together. What are they doing? I want to do it too. And then you might do what they're doing, and it just doesn't really make you feel any better because it's not speaking to your truth. And so it's really important for us to be open and exploring different avenues, different self-care mechanisms, different ways that we invest in our well-being in a place that feels right for us, because only we know what makes us feel good and is filling up our cup in the way that really makes us shine. But on the flip side, it's also important to recognize that we're not alone, right? So even though this journey is unique and it's going to look different for everyone, you can also lean on support from peers, from community members, from the TU community. Another important part is taking the time to reflect, right? Thinking about that wheel and asking yourself, like, what am I already doing really well? Like, what am I succeeding in? Perhaps I do really well in investing in my social relationships, and I make time for my friends, and I connect with my family. Maybe I'm also doing really well in my physical health. Like I went to the health center and I did my annual checkup, and I'm going and moving my body in a way that feels good, and I've been eating more fruit. But perhaps the area that maybe you're thinking, but am I doing really well in like financial well-being? How do I need some guidance in that area? Don't I need to spend more time investing in that space so that I feel completely whole and that I'm succeeding in all areas? And once you can figure out the areas that you want to focus a little bit more on, it's just trying to take time in your busy lives to devote to that well-being. So if you recognize that it could be really helpful to start investing in financial well-being because you're starting to get the pressure of some bills, or you want to buy certain things and you don't know if you have the finances for that, say, maybe this is a good time for me to schedule time to look at my budget or look at resources on campus that's going to help me with this goal. And then, of course, along the way, we just need to be really kind to ourselves, because we already, like we mentioned on slide 1, are juggling so many things, and adding more tasks and to-dos of things we need to do can feel overwhelming. So if you had a goal of trying to work in one area and it's taking a little bit more time, that's okay. We're just going to keep working towards that goal in a way that feels right for ourselves. And then, of course, lastly, is taking advantage of resources that support you. We're going to talk all about those resources. And you have so many resources at Towson University. And so I encourage all of us to take the time to learn, what are these resources that can help me, and how can I access them in a way that feels right for me? So I do want to share with you your first resource is knowing that a whole new subdivision has been created called Student Health and Wellbeing. So that is, we call it SHAW because it's easy for us. And all these departments that exist, so campus rec, health center, counseling center, and health promotion are now coming together, having more conversations, doing more collaborative work to help support students. So instead of you all having to try to navigate all these resources, and I can only imagine that it could feel complicated and overwhelming, we're trying to come together to make this feel more seamless and make it feel easier to move through each of these spaces in a way that feels very, very easy. And I would say we have defined well-being as an optimal and dynamic state that allows people to work towards their full potential. And so really our goal is just to support students in every way possible, because we know that when we're looking at our students as whole and we're helping them succeed in areas that go outside of the classroom, they're going to bring all of that energy back into the classroom and succeed. So now that we've talked about self-care, we've talked about dimensions of well-being, we reflected on things that we already do that work for us, I want to take all that information and apply it, and I'm going to need your help. So I have a couple of scenarios that I put out, and this might resonate with you or someone that you're close with, and we're going to talk about ways that we can support each of these students. So after we read the scenarios, I want to hear from you in the chat. So scenario number 1, Michelle is a sophomore majoring in business administration. During midterms, Michelle spent all of her time studying. She pulled a few all-nighters, told her friends not to contact her until midterms were over, and then she grabbed whatever food she can get quickly. A day before her midterms, Michelle felt super stressed out. She was really emotional, had a hard time focusing, and just felt exhausted. Fast forward a little bit. Now finals are a few weeks away, and Michelle doesn't want what happened during midterms to happen again. So what can Michelle do to help her succeed? So does anyone have any suggestions for Michelle of what she can do differently so she avoids what happens during midterms? Take breaks. Study in small increments. All right, you guys are killing it. Yes. So better strategy for time management. So you hit a lot of the points. You got it. So first and foremost is just create a schedule that feels doable, and try to break it up into small tasks. Essential to take breaks. And this is not just around midterms and finals, but throughout the year when you're working hard, studying hard, doing a lot, we need to have breaks built in to alleviate that stress so that we can come back and be more productive. Taking breaks, and in those breaks, maybe including movement. So going for a walk, having the dance party, taking advantage of Burdick Hall and campus rec, making sure opposite, right? Don't shut your friends out, but make time to connect with friends that fills you up. Hear that other people are going through similar experiences. So making sure that you're still connecting with your social network, maybe buying or preparing healthy meals. And instead of pulling all-nighters, we want to make sure that we're getting good quality sleep. So if we can create our schedule that allows us to still get that sleep, we're going to wake up each day feeling refreshed and ready to take on another round of studying and responsibility. Taking time to practice stress management techniques. So if in that moment, Michelle's still getting a little overwhelmed, what she's studying is feeling a lot, maybe taking a moment to practice deep breathing or do some meditation, or take a few minutes to get outside and connect with nature. Maybe just listen to music or do something like watch a funny video that makes you laugh. And then, of course, if Michelle's doing all of these things and she still needs a little bit more guidance or support, to seek out that support as needed. And so I want to let you know that there are resources on campus, like I mentioned earlier, that are here to do exactly that, to support us through regular times, challenging times. And one big area that helps with that is the counseling center. So counseling center is awesome because they have same-day appointments. So you can literally wake up one morning or in the middle of the night, start to feel really overwhelmed or have just something you need to talk about. You can go online or call the counseling center and make an appointment for that day. So if that's all of a sudden a stressor was added to your life, you just need some guidance for talking about it. A roommate dynamic is really stressful. You're going through something, maybe back at home with your family or friends, things are happening. You can literally any day of the year make an appointment at the counseling center. They also have group therapy. If you're just looking for a break, they have massage chairs, which are lovely. And they also just have great space for like calm. So going and using their meditation room or their mindfulness room. And if you don't really want to come in person, that's not your thing, they also have great virtual resources. So they have Together All, which is kind of like an online peer-to-peer chat. So if you do well hearing from other people that are going through similar experiences, Together All is fantastic. So you share out just something you're experiencing and people will respond back, but it's still monitored by a full-time mental health specialist. So we know that it's a protected space. And then there's Well Track Boost, which is also really great and provides a lot of great online resources. And then Campus Rec is another great way to help alleviate stress. So I don't know if a lot of people see that connection, but physical activity is one of the best stress management techniques. You take all of that pent up energy and you put it somewhere. It also helps boost energy, boost mood, help with productivity, and gets better quality sleep. So if you have that racing brain that sometimes happens when we're feeling stressed out, getting that out and putting that energy somewhere else can really help. So I would say Campus Rec has everything, and it's just a matter of exploring and figuring out what feels right for you. So if it's their equipment, you're really into like using elliptical or the treadmill, or you like doing weights, they have obviously fantastic equipment there. They also have group fitness classes, which just range in energy levels. So if you just need something super chill, you could take a yoga class, or if you want something more higher energy, you could take a HIIT class. They have all those really fun pool activities. And if you're more like an outdoor person, they have outdoor adventure and the climbing wall. And then their intramural sports. So definitely something to explore as a way to invest in your well-being throughout the year. Okay, so now we're going to move into scenario number 2. We have Gabriel. So Gabriel has been having a lot of fun over the past few weeks. They have been meeting new people, going out with their friends, and partying over the weekends. They've also been dining out more frequently, drinking a little more alcohol, vaping, and eating late into the night. But then last week, Gabriel wasn't feeling great. They were feeling sluggish, having a little heartburn, and not really focusing in class. Gabriel recognized that they want to take better care of their body and health. What are some things that Gabriel can do? So if you're a friend or yourself, you're working on taking better care of your health, what are some things that you would recommend? Mm-hmm. So cutting back how many drinks you're having, eating earlier in the night. Yes, that will definitely help with the heartburn. Mm-hmm. Getting into the gym. Mm-hmm. So just limiting how often you're going out. So just finding a little bit more balance. I love these. Awesome. So you hit some of the recommendations that I was going to throw out also. So, right, we can tell Gabriel, maybe try to make some healthier food choices. Maybe add a vegetable to your meal or try to cut back on some of the unhealthy snacks and replace them with something healthier. Maybe working on sleep hygiene, creating a better bedtime routine, getting to bed a little bit earlier, have a relaxation unwind before bed. And then really recognizing maybe, am I drinking too much alcohol? Am I, using too much cannabis? Is there a way that I can cut back or even quit completely? Trying to get some more physical movement, cutting back or quitting nicotine, trying to just drink more water, and then using safer sex supplies, right? So if he's going out and partying, wanting to make sure that he's being safe in those relationships. So we have a lot of resources on campus that can help invest in our physical health and well-being. So firstly, we have the health center. So something that I've really been pushing is reminding everyone the benefits of annual physicals. This is just a great way to connect with a provider, make sure that everything is still going great. And if you have any questions, it's just a great environment to do that. Sometimes what happens is if, maybe you haven't gone to the doctor since you were 17 and now you're 22. And in those 4 years, things have changed. And then all of a sudden you find out all this stuff that you wish that you would have known if you went earlier. So just getting a checkup can be really helpful. The health center also has STI testing, lab services. We have nutrition consultations. You can actually meet with me, as well as many other services, including psychiatric care. You obviously can come if you're feeling sick. But again, the health center is here to support you. I don't know how many people know, but we also have a dietitian through Tiger Hospitality. So if anyone is working on healthier eating and wants more guidance, you can meet with Holly for a free one-to-one nutrition counseling. And she's just great. You'll set goals. She'll walk you through all the options on campus. And she does a lot with allergies as well. There's also creative kitchen cooking classes. So if you were trying to develop your culinary skills, these are awesome. They're themed, they're fun. I think there's one about once a month. And again, you can reach out to her for some guidance on on-site dining. Campus Rec also has a program called Exercise is Medicine. So if you're not sure what to do at Campus Rec, like you walk in there, you're like, and now what? And you feel a little intimidated, because I know I could feel sometimes intimidated walking in there. Exercise is Medicine is an awesome program where you meet with someone, you talk about your goals, they kind of walk you through your options and really start with developing a routine that feels right for you and your schedule. The counseling center also has a whole program devoted to alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. So if you're looking to cut back on alcohol or drug use, there's Tigers in Recovery. They have harm reduction guides, and their website has these really cool e-checkups. You can just do these self-assessments just to see where you're at. And then lastly, health promotion, which is my department. We offer free STI testing throughout the year through Star Trek. We do HIV and hepatitis C with the Baltimore County Health Department. We offer free nicotine cessation counseling. So if you're cutting back or vaping or smoking, you need some guidance, you can meet with us to help with that behavior change. And we provide free nicotine replacement therapy. So things like the patch, lozenges, gums, things like that. And then we do a lot of well-being workshops on these health and well-being topics as well. Okay. And then lastly, we have scenario number 3. So Yasmin is a nursing major, and she has been studying a lot. And she devotes a lot of time to her schoolwork and professional aspirations. And she's really proud of herself. She did really well in her midterms. And to help manage her stress, Yasmin goes to Berta Calls. She takes a group fitness class 3 times per week with her friends. But Yasmin's been struggling financially, and she's feeling really nervous about paying her bills. How comfortable we feel about sharing with Yasmin some places she can go for her financial concerns. Does anyone know where on campus you can go? Yep, Career Center, yes. So Career Center is definitely one of them. So you hit that. So a Career Center recently has a whole new program devoted to financial well-being. So if you aren't familiar with Which Way, I would highly recommend checking it out. They have a lot of amazing resources, self-modules, just to provide some really great guidance for getting financially well and understanding how to start taking care of your finances. And you can also reach out directly to Jonas, who is the new Assistant Director for Financial Wellbeing, with any questions. And I know he is working really hard to roll out even more programming, workshop, tabling, and resources around financial wellbeing. So please keep your eye out for that this semester. We also have our Basic Needs Hub, which I don't know if you haven't been there before, but I tell people you should just check it out to see what it is, because it's fantastic. So if you just need additional resources or guidance, this is a great place to go. They have their food share program, so you can come and use their food pantry. You just go in, you swipe your card, you get like 10 free items. And this can just really help offset grocery bills. If you are eligible for SNAP benefits, but find the process of applying to be really cumbersome, because it can be, you can meet one-on-one with someone who will walk you through and guide you through that entire process. They also have Tiger Threads, where you can go and get clothing, and you can pick up cosmetics and all this great stuff. So Basic Needs Hub is just a great place to pop in, learn more about. And if you don't need it, definitely share with your peers. And then lastly, student outreach and support. So student outreach support is there to support students if they're having financial crisis, any issues academically, mental health. And this is for yourself or for anyone that you see might benefit or you find is struggling. You can set a report to SOS and they will reach out and provide a lot of guidance. So definitely don't forget about that resource as well. Okay. So to recap, first and foremost, everyone's well-being journey is unique. And taking time to really reflect on the things that you're doing well and you want to continue to invest in, and maybe areas that, maybe I haven't been focusing on this too much. Maybe I need to start looking and exploring into those options can be really helpful. We also really don't want to wait for there to be a problem before we have solutions, right? We don't want to get like we're coping constantly. We want to be proactive. And remembering that the prevention is really the key to success. And lastly, of course, there are numerous resources on campus that are here to help you succeed. So as a reminder, that prevention can look like a lot of different things. It can look like prioritizing sleep, taking breaks throughout the day, engaging in stress management, asking for help when you need it, connecting with nature, using safer sex supplies, learning that it's okay to say no and not saying yes, 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 and then saying no to yourself, right? And letting yourself feel burnt out at the end of it. Breaking larger tasks into smaller ones, following a healthy eating plan, just moving your body in ways that feel good, and getting that annual physical exam just to have a nice check-in and make sure there's nothing going on that's different from last year. And so I know we're here at SGA and we're gearing up for a new semester. And so I'm really curious, when you think back to the last semester, things that you want to bring this year, what are some ways that you incorporate well-being into your student group or organization? Anything that you're already doing? All right. So that might be a no. And maybe this is a space for us to talk about what that can look like. So some of the things that we can do. So if we're recognizing that, yes, we definitely have a group and there's a topic that everyone cares about and wants to talk about, but we know that well-being supports everyone. It supports ourselves, it supports our community, and we all thrive more when we're getting to invest in our well-being. And this is a really great space to influence change. So simple things. If you're having a meeting or an event, what could it look like to order some healthier food items? So instead of having some of the classics, maybe we can have fruit or some cut up vegetables, or instead of having sugar sweetened beverages, we can have water or the sparkling waters. Maybe we can plan a group activity. So if we're thinking of ways that we want to get everyone together in bonds, what would it look like to have movement be a part of that? Maybe we could reach out to Campus Rec and see if we can all go and use the climbing wall. I know that Campus Rec, you can also have one of their like group fitness providers come to your group and do an own personalized class. So instead of everyone trying to go there, they'll come to you. Or even on your own, if you want to include more movement, what does it look like to start a movement with a stretch break? Everyone just takes a minute or two to move their body in a way that feels good, or you can follow a YouTube video, do a quick 2-minute yoga routine. We also want to move away from the culture of praising not getting sleep, right? So I don't know if this happens on campus, but I know that it does happen in places where people are like, oh, I pulled an all-nighter and I didn't get any sleep last night. I worked so hard. Or I only got 2 hours of sleep last night. And we're like, people are one-upping each other and how little sleep they got. On the flip side, we want to be praising people that are investing their sleep. Like, oh, I went to sleep at 9 o'clock last night, or like, I got 9 hours, and really asking, how did you do that? And praising the idea of getting that good quality sleep. Starting a meeting with a check-in can be really helpful, right? We are carrying a lot with us kind of all the time. And our groups and our organizations are communities. And what could it look like to really have an honest check-in? And if that's people have to say things out loud, or it's just a quiet check-in where like everyone think about their week. Think about something that felt really good this week. Think about something that was a little challenging. What's some way that you want to invest in yourself? Asking everyone to share what self-activity they want to prepare this week. So we actually do this. I help run our peer education program. So each Friday we meet and we start it with highs, lows, and self-care. So everyone goes around, says their high of their week, their low of the week, and how they're going to take care of themselves that weekend. And I know I myself think about these things like, ooh, Friday's coming. Like, what am I going to say? Have I invested in my self-care? And it kind of keeps us aware of the importance of our self-care. Also recognizing that sometimes we just want to build in fun and laughter. So not everything always has to be serious. All of our tasks that we need to do, what can it look like just to do things for the sake of laughter? And then, of course, you're in a unique position where you've just attended this session. You have more knowledge now. What could it look like to share these resources with your team? Maybe highlight one department each week or one resource each week, or have a table or a bulletin set up that just has information on well-being. And you could be someone that people come to and they want to know more. You have that information or you have access to me to find out more, and you share that with your team. And then I'm going to talk about this in more detail on the next slide, but we also have workshops. So if there's a topic that you know that your student group or organization wants to learn more about, you can invite us in and we can go and take a little deeper dive into some of these topics and provide it directly to your group. So now that we talked about a few ideas, I'm going to give everyone a minute to think or even write down one or two well-being activities that resonated with them that you want to implement this semester. All right. And then just to give you some more information on those workshops, we can come and just kind of do a general well-being 101 where we have a little bit more reflection and some tips specifically on things like this, like self-care, how we take care of ourselves, different resources on campus. We have a presentation on the sweeter side of safer sex. We have one devoted specifically to sleep. So really going into sleep hygiene techniques and the importance of sleep. We have a stress less presentation. We have one on bystander intervention, nutrition 101, red flags, green flags, which is really about relationships and making sure that we know how to properly communicate or recognize signs in a relationship that don't feel healthy and those that do, and our safer squad goals. So the little dinosaur QR code will bring you directly to the workshops page, and that's what you need to do if you want to request a workshop for your group. And then you can also follow us at TU_health. So if you like keeping your pulse on well-being, we'll be posting well-being tips, resources, and events on campus that are all around well-being. And then another thing I'm not sure if everyone knows about is that we have a student health and well-being weekly events email. So I know sometimes it could feel a little challenging on social media to figure out exactly what's going on, or you go on and the event was yesterday. What this weekly events email is each Monday, you get an email directly to your Towson email that is telling you all the events that are happening on campus, specifically geared towards well-being. So again, this could be something that you can distribute to your groups or just have for yourself if this is something that you're interested in and want to know ways to get involved throughout the week. Okay, well, that is all I have for you, but I'm eager to know what questions you have for me. You read my mind. I was just about to put it into the chat. My email is eluction@towson.edu. So if you have any direct questions that I can help with, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then if you're interested in the workshops and things of that nature, that would be more on the health center website under the workshop request form. Right, well, thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful semester ahead. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or want us to come and visit your space and provide some more well-being. And as a reminder, please report back to the main area because there's still assessment and follow-ups that come.